Kings and Queens, today's special guest is Kate Frese, a seasoned photographer known for her dynamic sports photography in the NBA and the WNBA and at the Footprint Center, home of the Phoenix Suns. And that's right, right, Kate? Okay.
That is
And
correct. You nailed it.
awesome. Awesome. And in this interview, we will explore her journey and discuss themes of diversity, mental health, and ongoing dialogue surrounding education versus experiences in the world of photography. So, welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. So I found, I was scrolling on Threads and I saw your profile, and I wanted to bring up before we get into it. There was one photo, and now I'll admit I'm not somebody who's listens to rock music, but there was a photo that you had, and I could almost feel the excitement in the room and just like the emotion of the. I think it was a singer. I don't think he had an instrument or anything in his hand, but it was just amazing that just a photo of photography evoked that much emotion out of me for somebody who really doesn't listen to rock music, but it made me want to listen to what song are they playing. So I thought that was awesome.
Wow, that's like one of the highest compliments that you can give me because it must have been like one of the recent hardcore shows that I
Hmm.
shot. It really is like you nailed it. It's a very like high energy, kind of like almost violent and like punk rock kind of craziness. And I'm glad that like that and like that's seriously the highest compliment you can give me that that energy actually comes through in the photograph because that's my main goal when I'm covering that kind of music. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It may be. I don't remember if you remember the movie 8 Mile, and Eminem's. It's the last part of the scene where Eminem's on stage and everybody's there. That's what it made me think of, and it was just like this is awesome. Just
Awesome.
I could get all that just from a photograph. And I'm not somebody who goes. Well, do you go to like art shows or art galleries a lot and look at the photos?
Yeah, I actually that's it's funny you said I was just at the Phoenix Art Museum yesterday. I make an effort to be a member of the main art museum in every city that I live in. So I was looking at some awesome photography yesterday, and I really like, despite loving the crazy, hectic music, I also like really calm and serene things. Yet, like
Okay,
life's about balance, so I love the art museums.
awesome, awesome. All right. Well, let's get into your inspiration and just how you got into photography itself. So, can you share with us how you first got into photography and what sparked your passion for capturing moments through your lens?
I was kind of always around photography loosely. Like my mother is a hobbyist. She always loved taking pictures at birthdays, holidays. She was a school teacher, and she, with parents' permission, she would take pictures of her students on the playground or like in the classroom. And then she would, put together like a little package at the end of the school year and take like the kids would take their pictures home with them. And that
Okay.
was her way of kind of like she would hang the pictures in the hallway. So I was always like around photography. Both of my grandmothers were painters, so I kind of always like was around art, and I did every kind of art you could I could get my hands on as a child, and then. I was gifted a film camera when I was, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13. My parents just gave me a bunch of loads of rolls of film, and I would just take pictures of whatever sparked my interest. It was mostly like nature kind of stuff, and then in high school I took a darkroom class and absolutely fell in love with it. um, but then I just kind of like, I don't know, I never really stuck with it until I decided I wanted to go back to school and I wanted to be an art major. Went into school as a graphic design major, thinking, oh, I'll be able to make money that way because everyone always says like you can't make money being an artist. So I did the graphic design route, and then I took a photography elective in school, and I actually had the chair of the photo department as my professor, and she like looked at one of my contact sheets because it was black and white dark room, and she was like, change your major right now. She's like, you have something that I can't teach people. And I was just
Wow.
like, and like, thank you, Christine Welch, because she changed the whole trajectory of my life because of that simple
Wow.
comment and that simple pull aside in her office. And I just continued. I got my BFA in photography, and then just life gets crazy after that. So
Um, so it seems like nowadays that schools are pulling those programs, those curriculums out of school. How do you feel about that? And is it going to be a dying, not say, I'll just say, lack of a better word, sport?
I mean, nothing enrages me more than when they are pulling out, it seems to be three things. It's art, music, and sports.
Mm-hmm.
And like those are literally the three things that I love the most in life. And if I wouldn't have had those outlets as a child up through, middle school and a really traumatic high school experience, I don't know if I would have survived. Like I would have
Mm-hmm.
never like figured out that I'm a creative person.
Right.
I mean, I did have help at home with my family, but I don't think those parts of me would have been nurtured in the way that, allowed me to essentially make this my career. I mean,
Right.
how do you know that you're not going to have the next LeBron James, the next Pablo Picasso, the next like, Annie Leibovitz if you don't give these children a chance to explore these things?
Right.
Maybe they find out they don't like it and then they move on to a next thing, but at least give these kids a chance to try.
Right.
And it really you're taking away literally all these outlets that children have, and I think it's going to become really dangerous because children aren't going to know the different options you have to let out your energy, your emotions, like whatever you're feeling. And it scares me, quite frankly, to know that might be a school system that doesn't exist.
Right. We're all going to be just cookie cutter. No one's going to be an individual to be able to express themselves. And
Yep,
we'll discuss artificial
exactly.
intelligence. And
Hmm.
we were talking about AI beforehand. She's got a AI shirt on. But it's
Yes,
scary what's happening today in schools and what they choose to get rid of and programs that they're keeping. No one's talking about financial
right.
literacy. So you come out of school, no one knows
Hmm.
how to manage money. It doesn't make a lot
Right.
of sense at all. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, great, I know the Pythagorean theorem. Do I know how to do my taxes? No, I have to hire someone to do it. Like, when am I using like these equations? But can I learn how to balance a checkbook or like, this and that? It really is crazy.
Right. Right. All right. So let's dive into your portfolio a little bit further. So your portfolio is incredibly diverse, covering a wide range of subjects. So how do you approach capturing the essence of different subjects, whether it's sports, events, or other genres?
I think I kind of this is the only way that I really know how to do it, and it's kind of approach everything the same way with equal passion, compassion, and seeing things kind of like really breaking it down and seeing things like what they are. And everything you can kind of break it down to movement and energy,
Okay.
composition and shapes and light, and kind of like working in that way, and just knowing that I'm hoping at least that my style will come across no matter what I'm shooting. Which, like, as you kind of like mentioned before, like, high energy, like bringing out emotions and things like that. I feel like I try to, and maybe like, even subconsciously bring that out through no matter what I'm shooting.
Okay. Is that because so think through paintings or photography from the naked or not necessarily the naked eye, but the uneducated eye, do you kind of want to evoke, all right, that's Kate's photo, that's Kate's work, and you know exactly who did that work? Is that exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, I really want, and no matter like what I put my hands on, I want it to like, just like scream me, because like
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that, especially in the sports world, is that it was just so cookie cutter for the longest time,
Mm-hmm.
and just like all the pictures just kind of look the same, and the approach of things kind of look the same. And that's like one thing I really told myself, like when I was going to do this, is just like, I am myself, I'm an individual, and I want to put my stamp on things. Not that I
Right.
need to like big scream, like shout and stand out amongst everyone, but just kind of like leave my mark and have someone be able to look at a picture and be like, I know, like that's one of Kate's pictures, when they see it
Right.
against other people. Like that's what I really want.
Okay. All right. So can you elaborate on your work with the Footprint Center?
Do you mean like concerts or just kind of everything that I do in that building?
Everything there.
Um, I mean, I do a little bit of everything when it comes to so I'm technically like an NBA employee, but I also get hired from Footprint Center and the Suns to do kind of like side work. So
Okay.
me and my boss Barry Gossage are just like the two people that kind of handle everything. So we will do, of course, all of the Suns home games, and then between he and I will do the concerts at the Footprint Center. We'll do sometimes community events for the team, or like even just like
Okay.
little events that they kind of host, like conferences at the arena. I do a little bit of everything, so it's not just like, sitting on the court during a game. I'm kind of have my hands in everything.
Okay. What challenges and or excitements come with capturing that fast-paced moments in sports, especially in leagues for like the NBA or the WNBA?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, no problem. What challenges and or excitements come from capturing those fast-paced moments in sports, especially in leagues like the NBA and the WNBA?
Yeah, so some way that I my approach and how I do things stands out from most photographers besides my boss that are in that arena is that we shoot on a strobe system. So what that means is like, how you have like studio lights and stuff, we have those
Hmm.
up in the rafters of our building, and we shoot on those for everything for game action. What that means is that I get one frame every 3 seconds. So if I miss a shot, I miss a shot. I have to be like pretty much like on point at all times. And that's one thing that was really hard for me switching from shooting on available light and being able to do multiple frames is that like,
Okay.
okay, maybe like I missed like the shot, I might get a celebration or I might get the moment after it, like a rebound or
Okay.
something like that. But I have to like, I take one picture, I have to count 1001, 1002, 1003 before I can shoot again.
Wow.
So everything that you see that I get, I have to
Hmm.
time it so perfectly in order to get the shot that like what we do, not a lot of people can do. We really are highly skilled, and I feel like I'm constantly thinking in my head, I'm like, don't screw it up, don't screw it up. I'm just like, oh crap, I missed it. Okay, let me at least get a really good celebration shot or something to kind of like represent that moment. But
Okay.
it's hard. It's really hard. You have to really master your craft and understand the sport that you're covering to shoot on strobes like that, and understand movement, and even down to how a certain player's style plays into that. Like,
Wow.
you might have like a player that's just like quick to the basket, or you might
Hmm.
have guys that specialize in a fadeaway. So kind of understanding how their timing works and how your timing taking your picture, it just like I don't some days I'm just like, how the heck do I do this? But it's very intuitive and a lot of practice. So,
Wow. So you're clearly a sports fan yourself. Do you ever, so if it's a big playoff game, do you ever get like lost in the moment? You're like, oh, I'm supposed to be working here and catching those shots.
um, sometimes. So I just the Diamondbacks actually hired me to help them with their postseason. So I got to shoot my first World Series, and that was my first,
Wow.
my second championship I've ever done. I have also done
Okay.
like a women's hockey one. It was a much smaller scale, but shooting like the World Series, the energy is just so crazy in those stadiums that I literally had to wear earplugs when I was working because I was just getting so overstimulated. And like you do get kind of caught up in the moment because
Okay.
that playoff atmosphere, no matter what sport, like is just it's insane, and
Right.
it can be really distracting, but like you have to kind of like keep yourself in check and remind yourself that like I'm here, I got to get my moments. But for me, I tend to panic a little bit. I have like anxiety, so I have to I tell myself it's a regular game, no big deal. Like, I have to kind of like gaslight myself that like, to kind of like be calm. But there are a few moments every now and again where I just like pause and I'm just like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah.
look at where I'm at right now. Like, pinch yourself for a second and really like get into like reality. Like, this is freaking wild.
Hmm.
And I've had moments here and there. I'm like, oh crap, you're working right now. Start shooting, where I'm just like sitting there like watching, and I'm just like, please don't let me be in the background of some broadcast like this. Like, which has happened, and friends have taken pictures of their screen. They're really and sending it to me during the game, and it's like a reminder, like, watch your face, or like, do your job. It's an ongoing joke with my friends, because I do that to them too when they're working. But yeah, you have to really just kind of ground yourself. I have to do a lot of like grounding work and like keep myself kind of centered and focused to stay on point. So
All right, all right. I'm gonna use the Phoenix Suns example. So you said sometimes you have to know the sport that you're photographing. So say like Bradley Bill is a new player to the team this year, and he's been in and out of the lineup. So did you have to go back and just see what his playing style is like? Did you watch other games, or you just kind of watch as the season unfolds?
I feel like you should use another player as an example, because I actually was a huge Bradley Beal fan when he played for the
Oh,
Wizards. And when I lived in
okay,
Baltimore, I would go
okay,
down to DC and see. It was the years where it was John Wall, Westbrook, and Beal. And that, to like
yes,
this day, is still one of my favorite trios. I love that. So maybe like we'll use another player as example. But it's one of those things where I do. Since I'm watching games, I'm technically there as a league employee, is I have to
hmm,
cover as unbiased as I can, but it's hard because I have such a bond with the
yeah,
Suns players. But it is one of those things where it pays to watch the sport that you're
okay,
covering and kind of like, really study players, because like I was lucky enough when Beal came in, and I knew all the crazy moves that he does and stuff like that, like when he fakes
okay,
people out. He still gets me sometimes though. And I like missed shots because he went. I thought he was going this way. I was like, "Dang, you even got me, Bradley." But yeah, it's just it helps to study play, and I
okay,
can get a little hyper focused and obsessive about it, where I will sometimes watch games, just to like understand players, or I'll be watching a lot of highlights just to kind of know, because like you compare like Bradley Beal and the way that he moves to like even Devin Booker, and then like you bring in players like Luca, or like Joker and
yeah,
things like that, and they all kind of have their own little style about them and their way of play, and it helps. It's worth putting in the work and studying those players, because I feel like you can more anticipate their movements, which makes for it easier to capture the best pictures of them.
right. And I was thinking you're just focused on the home team, but like, yeah, you have visiting players that are coming in as well, and you have to
Hmm.
be wow. That's wow.
Hmm.
So diving even further, can you explain the different types of photographers at the games and the pros and cons of each photography?
Sure. So like something that like unless you're really really into the industry, you may not understand like when you see a photographer at their game and their different purposes.
Hmm.
So it's pretty the NBA is a little different than like MLB, NBA or NFL, but it's for the most part the same. So you have like I hate to say it, but it's like a tier system. And I don't want to
Hmm.
say like some are more important than others, but they are in a way, and they do take
Okay.
priority towards like positioning and things like that. So you have like league photographers, which is what I am, and we're kind of like the top of the chain. So like we work for the league itself, we're like top dogs, and then you have the team photographers. So they work just specifically for the Suns or for whatever team, and that can include like a main photographer, a social media photographer, and we're kind of like the top two priority, like league being first,
Okay.
and then right underneath it is the team. And then after that it's kind of even a tier system with that too. You have top news outlets or like wire services like Getty or AP. They take a lot of precedence to someone that's like low man on the totem pole, or like bottom of the food chain, which is player content. And those are
Okay.
like photographers that a player has brought in. They normally have very restricted
Ah.
access, where we have
Okay.
we pretty much full access. We get the court seats, we get the number one shooting spots, then the team right after us, and then everyone else just kind of fills in
Hmm.
where they can and kind of like fend for themselves. But there's a lot of it's just like hierarchy that goes into it. And I really don't like to say it like that, because the way that I approach things is like, if you got a camera in your hand, like I'm going to respect you as long as you respect me.
Right.
Like, don't make me flex my muscles unless I have to. There have
Okay.
been some like instances where like photographers have come in and maybe they're really comfortable with a team or a player and kind of like think that they're like the top dog and have like been very rude to me or gotten in my shots and like kind of mess up my flow of photography. And I will have to be like, hey, listen, like I'm glad that you're here. I respect your work, but you have to understand that like some of us do get priority over you. I don't like to be that guy, but there is a tier system. But if you come in and you're respectful, I'm like, hey man, like come shoot next to me. Like I got a really great angle. Like I don't care. Just like don't get in my shot. And like we can both get a really cool, moment. And it's really weird and it's just like some photographers on social media claim to be what they're not. Like they'll say
Okay.
they're like a team photographer when really they're like, it's a loose like translation for that for some people.
Okay.
And I was just like, no, you really don't get that title, but whatever. I'm not gonna call you out right now.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's a weird system.
Okay. Now, since you have a relationship with the leagues in various sports, the Olympics coming up, is that, or do they send people out there, or how does that work?
Um, that's something that's definitely on my bucket list that I'll admit I haven't like pushed as hard for to cover. That I think it's more like wire services that are controlling who's going to those things. So I loosely am connected to Getty Images because I'm a contributor through the NBA. So like my pictures get posted on Getty and
Mhm.
distributed through them. So I could like be like, hey, you need anybody? And do that. But those can be really hard to break into. Like you have to be
Okay.
of like a top notch like wire service. So like Getty, AP, USA Today, and then a few other ones, and then go from there. That's one that's on my bucket list. I just haven't pushed too hard for yet. I don't know why. I'm weird.
All right. Would it be something that's very lucrative, it would pay a lot, or is it be more so we're just going to give you the opportunity to go out there? Um, you should be happy to go out there. I don't mean that derogatory, but what would be the
Oh no,
pay
I know what you
like?
mean. Um, I think it depends on how you're set up with the wire services. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of money in what we do. I hate to say it for most of us, myself included, is that for doing something like the Olympics, is you would go in, you might get like a game rate or like a day rate or something like that just for showing up and being there. They should be comping your hotels, travel, meals, stuff like
Hmm.
that. And then sometimes that's all you get. Or sometimes you get none of that and you get paid like a commission if you sell a picture. So
Okay.
that's like, your enticement to like make the best pictures. So you sell the most, so you make the most money. Sometimes if you're really lucky, you get both a game or a day rate and commission, but that's becoming less and less, unfortunately, in this industry. So I only get a game rate. I don't get paid commission. Like when
Okay.
my picture is hanging up on a billboard, that's all cool. I get no extra money for that. When
Wow.
I had a picture in Sports Illustrated this past year, no extra money, no extra money for that. So it's one of those things that I think that the industry needs to change because back in the day there used to be like a staff photographer and they'd make decent money. They would get commission on top of the game rate, and that's like um the best kind of situation for us. But normally we sign our rights away and then they can just do whatever they want with the pictures and sometimes make a profit off of us.
Is it unionized, the industry?
We, this is something I talk about a lot because I have a lot of
Hmm.
friends that do like blue collar work and are unionized. And I tell them, I was like, I know like my job is all glitz and glamour, but I envy you so much because people have tried and it just hasn't worked out.
Okay.
It's unfortunately we sign a lot of contracts that like some contracts even say we can't unionize
Wow.
and there's no negotiation with that. It's like either you like it or you don't. Like, if you don't like this like contract that we give you, tough, we'll easily find someone else that's willing to do it. So I wish there was a way that we could unionize and protect ourselves, but unfortunately there's not. So it leaves us, taking the hit and being exposed in a way. It really is unfortunate.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Maybe is there your all your photographs, let's say one of the minimum billboards, is there a way to like make your signature big on the corner so that everyone knows exactly who you are, so they know if you want this type of work, this is who you need to reach out to?
No, all I can do, which I have done in the past, is like take a picture of a billboard and be like, "Hey, this is my picture," and then just hope that someone sees it and be like, "Hey, that's cool. She must be like pretty good at what she does. Maybe we'll hire her." But it's so seldom that we can even get a photo credit. I mean, having to track people down even on like social media just for them to tag me in a picture sometimes is like I could make that a full-time job, and I just have learned just to not care as much because unfortunately we don't get a lot of the credit that we deserve.
Well, no, you know me feeling bad because sometimes I religiously will go online and use a photograph or something. Now you're making me think otherwise, what I've been doing. So this is a great
Don't do it.
conversation.
No. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about your career highlights. So you have over a decade of experience in photography industry. Could you share some of your most memorable moments or projects that have stood out in your career so far?
Um, Definitely a highlight was this past year covering the World Series. I mean, it's so interesting that, don't get me wrong, I love baseball, but
Hmm.
I've worked most of my career in hockey with the NHL and then just moved to the NBA. I always thought that I would cover the Stanley Cup or the NBA Finals as my first one, and it ended up being the World Series, and I'm grateful for it. It was so
Hmm.
cool. I'm really salty and wish it would have been the Phillies with the Diamondbacks, but at least Phillies did come to town for a few games. I got to be around my people, but that was a highlight for me, and it was one of those things that like I know that my grandfather, who got me into sports, is like looking down and just like, I'm proud of you, kid. He's like, I know you wanted to do hockey or basketball, but this one's for me because I got you into baseball. And it was like one of those things that like when you can like sit back and be like, dang, like my like grandparents would have been proud of me, or like like my dad was so ecstatic because he loves baseball and he played
Okay.
like baseball and softball. So it was like that was something I'll never forget. And it was definitely like going back to like our previous conversation, one of those things where I'm just like, you're working right now. Because I had a few moments where I'm just like taking in everything and I'm just like, first of all, I would never be here because I can't afford a World Series ticket. Second of all, I'm working this dang thing for the team. I came in for the Diamondbacks and I'm just like, shout out to Kelsey Grant for having me come in because she's awesome. She's their team photographer.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just like that was like a big like you made it kind of moment for me, and also just like my first game sitting on the court for the Suns, I was like, Mom, I made it. Like, hey, Mom, like look. Like if you would have put me in a post game interview, like, hi mom, I did it. Or like, with my parents, like, hey, thanks for like, helping me out when times were tough. Like it's kind of
Mhm.
paying out in the end. And it's like it's really humbling. And in those moments you just have to be very grateful, and just like kind of sit back and be like, okay, those days that you would cry after games because you were so frustrated where you were at your career, like think about that girl and like how proud she would be of you. So
You know, you had to stay composed in the moment, but afterward, did it all kind of come out?
oh my God, yeah. Like I literally like I have some moments like after some like big games like that where I just like sit in my car and just like stare at the wall and like maybe cry a little bit or like put on some like music that hypes me up or
Yeah.
like, you have to pinch yourself because it's just like for me it's work and I have to remind myself how cool my job is. Some that sounds weird, but it's like I've been working in pro sports for so long that I'm just like, no, like you're doing something pretty cool. Like when I send a picture of like me sitting on the court to my friends, they're just like, holy shit, Kate. Sorry, I shouldn't swear.
Right.
Like,
No,
holy
you're fine.
shoot, Kate. Oh, I'm gonna swear. Oh dang, I would have been like, I would have actually been my authentic self. Like, damn. But yeah, they're just like, holy shit, Kate, your job's so cool. I was like, you know what, you're right. And that's one thing I'm like trying to practice in 2024 is more grateful and be more grateful and kind of
Mhm.
showing gratitude and like thankfulness for what I do because I think sometimes, we get so wrapped up in these jobs that it's just like No, it's actually really cool. And like celebrate yourself also. That's okay. Because especially as women, we're told to like dull our shine a little bit because like
Yeah.
it makes people uncomfortable when we celebrate ourselves. And I know that can be said about so many different types of marginalized people that like, be loud. Like if you're
Right.
proud of yourself, say it. And when someone's upset about it, they're jealous is typically
Yep.
what it is, and they wish they could do what you do. So,
100%.
and if that makes them uncomfortable, that is not on you. That is on them. Let them work that out with their therapist, higher power or whatever, because it's not my problem and I'm allowed to be happy and proud of myself.
100%. And
End
just think
quote.
about it. There's how many people are working jobs that might be getting paid a lot of money, but they hate going into work every single day. And you clearly love and enjoy what you're doing. So I think it's a nice balance.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. So let's talk a little bit of uncomfortable conversations. Have you encountered what have you or what specific challenges or opportunities related to diversity and inclusion um, have you encountered in your career, especially in sports photography?
Yeah, I like this is one thing where I'm just like, I love having uncomfortable conversations because
Hmm.
I know that those things need to happen in order for us to move forward and to
Hmm.
make it a more like diverse and inclusive space. So I personally don't shy away from that. I've done a lot of self work and like own self reflection and kind of figured out like where I sit in this like system with things. And I know that I like hold a lot of power as a white woman. And but still like at the end of the day like still a very male dominated sport,
Yeah.
specifically mostly white men, and there's been a lot of hard moments and I still have them. I still have people that accuse me of like sleeping with players and this, or like, who did you like sleep with to get this job and things like that.
They say
I
that to
still
your
deal with
face.
that all the time. Oh, absolutely. And like, I'm very candid in those moments. This job has made me a very, very tough person, and
Okay.
I've changed from when I first started a little over 10 years ago, where I was quiet. I didn't make any noise. I just wanted to like be invisible
Right.
because you just get so much extra attention because you stick out. And a lot of people, have these negative reactions because they like I talked about previously, they want to do what you do. They wish they had your job. They wish
Right.
that they had the type of access that you have. And that just sparks this jealousy and really ugly side of people. And I internalized a lot of that in my career. And it made me kind of really shut down for a while. And it made me a very angry person, which I'm still angry. I think that's also a little bit of the Philly in me, but it's just it's wild. I really wish I could like make a quote book of all the wild stuff people have said to me, while working or on the internet or like, and just like put it in a book. Or there was a point in my career where I really hit a breaking point. I wanted to quit, and I actually
Hmm.
wrote down a lot of those things and put them on like my mirror. So when I'm getting ready, like and like to go to a game or work or whatever, I'm like, this is your fuel. You're gonna
Right.
show all these people wrong, and you're jealous now. I'm gonna make you more jealous. Like I'm
Yes.
gonna like
Yes.
like celebrate, celebrate myself and talk about how cool my job is. And you'd be like, people just come out of the woodwork, and
Yes.
it really is. It's sad. I feel like I've had this standard where people expect like me to be perfect, where you can have a mediocre white guy doing this job and he gets all the accolades, where I have to be perfect. I have to do everything like, so much better just to get a chance, just to get like, a shot to do what I do, where other people can just like walk into this industry because they know
Right.
someone,
Right.
and coming into it, I really done a lot of self work, and I have realized that there's so much more work that needs to be done because people, and I've felt it, and I've like had people say certain things to me that like they think I'm the diversity hire, and I'm like, I'm not any better than, any of these white guys at the end of the day because I have like, you know, they're going to probably have my back over anyone else at the end of the day, and I have a protection, just being a white person, understanding my privileges doing this. And I get really, really angry over it. And my approach is that I just do the best that I can. And that's applauding, photographers that don't look like me for the work that they do and kind of sharing their work whenever I can. And when I have the ability to hire a freelancer, over my dead body, if it's going to be a white guy. And I know I'll probably get some heat for saying that, but I try to look for people to give the opportunity to that I feel like would be looked over in any other room, because that's a very important thing as a white woman that we can do when we get to this point, is open the door for others, and I don't want to sound like, a white savior or anything like
Um,
that, but it's like, it really, really have to like sit back and understand that, like, as a white woman, you hold a lot of power because
mhm,
you are like what they consider a diversity hire, and you can be like, "Oh, thank you, thanks for letting me in the door," and then realize behind me, I'm opening the door for other people,
right.
because I want it to be a more diverse market, because it has a very long way to go, and I feel like my generation and the one after that, these younger ones that are coming up, are going to be the ones to really change this industry, because
Right.
we're doing more work, and we're understanding, the imbalance that there is, and like we have a lot of power in our hands, and that it, like, how it is with anything else, is like when you have that power, it's how you use it. It can be for bad or good, and I try to be the good side of that.
Right. Right. That's great. That was very insightful. So in those situations when individuals come to you or on social media and they're attacking you, how do you handle those situations, and or what advice would you give to someone else in the industry?
Like someone that's experiencing that kind of hate,
Yes.
like someone else. Okay. For me, I used to get into a lot of Twitter battles with people,
Hmm.
back when I was working, and I just like would just put so much energy towards, trying to prove these people wrong and like this and that. And I kind of over the years have realized how much of a waste of energy that can be. I kind of pick and choose, like, which Kate are you going to get today? Are you going to get the block remove Kate, or are you going to get, like, I'm going to tear you a new one, Kate? And I try to, I believe very much in karma and energy, and that, you get back what you put in. And I
Yes.
don't want to give people any power that are saying these hateful things. A lot of times I'm hiding, I'm removing comments, I'm blocking. Um, and I feel like that's protecting my peace. Um, there are certain instances where I feel if someone should be called out, I'm going to quote tweet you. Like, especially if you have like, or someone coming at one of my friends that's like a photographer, like I'm going to call you out, because I will say that there's one thing that, like, even just all my like Philly sports people that my following that have like stuck by me, is that like they will come to my defense, and like,
Okay.
all I have to do is, especially on Twitter where most of that following is, all I have to do is just like quote tweet you, and they will do the work for me. They will tear you apart, because it's deciding like where those boundaries are. Where is that, you have to ask yourself, is that energy that you're putting out defending yourself taking away from your own personal, and is it worth
Ooh.
it? Because
Yeah.
you have to see people for where they're at, and understand that often it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And I feel bad for you if you're
Yeah.
going on and just like attacking a random person on Twitter. Like, how sad and pitiful is your life? And I think you like maybe need to sit down with someone and do, or at least do some self-reflection, bare minimum. Because, and once you kind of understand that how people treat you is a reflection on themselves, and that can go for any part of your life, any aspect, any type of relationship, is that it's often a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And you can even take stuff a little less personally, which I feel helps myself, because that stuff can tear you down. That can really wear on you and
Yes.
wear on how you see yourself, and it's just like, we don't have time for that in 2024. Like, go work on yourself, talk to someone, honey. Like, you gotta fix this self-hatred. So
Yeah.
I just try to do the best I can to pick my battles.
Okay. All right. That was great. Thank you. I'm sure somebody watching will definitely appreciate those words and make them, you know, I'm not the only one that's dealing through this. Just real quick, this aside, did you see a big difference between Threads and Twitter? Do you think one's more positive than the other?
um at first, yes. Twitter, I honestly like rarely post on anymore because it just became so negative,
Hmm.
and it was just I felt like gross scrolling through
Yeah.
it. You know, it just like it I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like the interactions I was having for most of it. And I switched to Threads, and at first it was a really, really positive experience. I felt like the algorithm was really great, and like I've like
Okay.
discovered so many like different people that I don't think would have showed up on like my Twitter algorithm. Lot really great for the photography community. But now I've like been getting some haters as I've gotten some like more follows, and like whatever's going on with the algorithm, like my stuff's popping up on more people's feeds, and I'm getting like
Hmm.
a lot of crap now, and I'm just like, here we go. It's like Twitter point two or whatever, and like um that's just where you have to kind of remind yourself, like, you know, the block features is there for a reason, and use it. Like, because people are just going to they'll find a way. The haters are going to find their way onto any platform, unfortunately. So it's just how you
Yeah.
deal with it.
Okay.